It's a one in, one out situation for the Blue Jackets as two guys get activated from IR and two guys, their season's over. Who are we talking about? We'll discuss on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. Kind of a grab bag of things to talk about today. I want to touch on the Four Nations. I want to talk about the injury updates, and we did not get the monsters forward that we were expecting to get when they announced a transaction yesterday. So let's talk about the injuries first, or some injuries and some lack of injuries. Kirill Marchenko and Boone have both been activated from IR. Boone, unsurprising. Kirill Marchenko, a little bit surprising. I've talked about this for the past couple of days. He broke his jaw 3 weeks ago, less than 3 weeks ago, and I guess cleared by the doctors, decided he wanted to play. I am unsurprised that he wanted to play. I am surprised that he's been cleared by the doctors. I know that he didn't get his jaw wired shut, so that helped recovery time. The surgery was probably the right move in terms of like a faster return. I really hope that bubble that he's wearing is like real reinforced, because you cannot tell me that all of his jaw bones are like completely 100% healed and ready to go. Like you simply can't. But nevertheless, he's activated. It sounds like he's going to be in for tomorrow's game against the Blackhawks, which again I kind of suspected. They had same lines for their skate this morning. Voronkov, Fantilli, Marchenko on the top, and then Jenner, Sillinger, Johnson. So, like, again, my assumption is both of those guys are in. They're not confirmed 100%, I don't think. But head coach Steve Everson seems pretty optimistic that Boone, Kirill Marchenko, and Dante Fabro will play tomorrow night. Quote, barring any setbacks, according to Jeff Spoda at Jackets Insider. Expect Zach Werenski back as well. Obviously, Zach Werenski is probably still in Boston, is my guess, or they decided to give him the morning off because, again, he played a bunch last night. We'll talk about Zach Werenski at the Four Nations in a little bit here, but I am honestly, part of me did kind of expect him to show up at practice this morning because he's like that. But my guess is he's either en route or they said, "Hey, take the morning off, and we'll see you for morning skate tomorrow." And he'll be in the lineup against Chicago. In terms of the defense pairings, they had been rotating 3 defensemen. On that bottom pairing, the Johnson, Fabro, Harris trio. But it looks like Johnson is a plug-in for Werenski. Johnson and Fabro were the third defense pairing, which says to me, again, that it's going to be Werenski, Fabro, Matejchuk, Provorov, and Christensen Severson for tomorrow night's game, which I am fully okay with. Like, that is the best makeup of the defensemen right now. I know that people are kind of a little bit disillusioned with David Severson. I'm in the same boat. Don't worry about it. But that Christensen-Severson pairing, I think, is the best place for Severson right now. He's not getting a ton of minutes, but he is, like, when he's playing well, there is the opportunity to give him more minutes, right? Like, that's, to me, that feels like the best place for him right now. I feel like Dean Everson doesn't love Damon Severson, but that contract, he's going to be around. But looking at the lines again, this feels like the strongest. It feels like the strongest lineup of healthy Blue Jackets right now. That being said, couple of updates. I believe I mentioned when it first happened. Owen Sillinger done for the season. He has a knee injury, which sucks. Again, he was playing really well for the Monsters. Love to see him make his NHL debut earlier this season. But Kevin Labanc also done for the season. He had shoulder surgery. I don't know whether that was like over the break, fixing something that got messed up earlier, or again, like what were you doing? What were you doing over the last 2 weeks, Kevin? I have questions, but either way, he's done for the season. So the Blue Jackets, they needed to add someone. We'll talk about who they add in a minute here, but Kevin Labanc joins the injured Blue Jackets, is not going to play again this season, and probably won't be a Blue Jacket next season either. So the Kevin Labanc signing has ended inelegantly, let's say. He started really strong for this team. He had I think he had 8 points in his first 10 games or something. I'm just pulling it up now. He had 4 points in his first 5 at least. 6 points in his first 8. That's what it was. And then around about mid-November is when the points just kind of stopped. He had a 3-game point streak going against Seattle, Pittsburgh, and Montreal, and then after that ended November 16th. After that, he had a goal against Edmonton, December 5th. He had an assist versus Anaheim, December 14th. And that's it for points since then. He's only played 34 of the 56 games, so he's been a healthy scratch for a bunch of them. I think, 22 games? He's been available, but not, ready to play. I think a couple of those he missed because he had a baby, or his wife had a baby, which is, again, understandable. But 12 points in 34 games. You wanted a little bit more from Labanc, or I did anyway, but he didn't give that. Again, started strong and then really kind of fell off around about mid-November. Struggled to stay in the lineup. When he was in the lineup, he wasn't producing. Sucks that he's injured. It sucks that he's going to miss the rest of the season. But I do think that probably we have seen Kevin Labanc in Blue Jackets colors for the last time. I can't see him getting a contract extension the same way that Zach Werenski did. The numbers just weren't there. And again, Dean Everson didn't seem to like him very much because based on the fact that even when they had the option, they still chose to play 11 forwards and 7 defensemen over a healthy Kevin Labanc, which again is not a great sign, if you ask me. But either way, Labanc injured. Owen Sillinger done for the season. That one does kind of suck, but I suspect that he'll be back in a Monsters jersey come October or come September, I guess, when training camps etc. start. But great news on Marchenko and Jenner. Fabro, I don't think ever got put on IR, so they didn't need to activate him from IR. I'm just going to double check that because I have been wrong before and I will be wrong again. No, they never put Fabro on IR, so they did not need to. They did not need to activate him. So as of right now, IR is Sean Monahan due back in about 3 weeks, I think. Igor Chinikov back. We don't know when. Erica Branson may be back this season? ? And then Kevin Labanc done for the season. But again, the Blue Jackets are looking healthy-ish, dare I say. There's really only Monahan and Chinikov are the only I'm gonna knock on wood impact forwards that are injured here. Gabranson, I wouldn't call him an impact defenseman necessarily, but if he's healthy, you can guarantee that he'd be in the lineup, right? So I would not consider him an impact defenseman, but the team probably considers him an impact defenseman, right? But this is a lot more promising than 2 weeks ago when we're limping into the break and people are like, man, we don't know when Fabro is going to be back. Is Boone Jenner going to be ready to go after the 4 Nations? Is Kirill Marchenko going to miss 8 weeks because of his broken jaw? And the answer is no, he's going to miss 20 days, I think it is. Which again, insane, unhinged, not normal. But Blue Jackets, mostly healthy, boding well. And again, I think that the Blackhawks is a good warm-up game as they get into the rest of this season. They've got, I think, 22 games left. But I saw a tweet from I want to say it was from Jeff Svoboda. Blue Jackets have 26 games until the end of the regular season. The good news is that 14 of those games are home games where the Jackets have been really good. But the bad news is that 17 of those 26 games are against teams that are currently in a playoff spot, and 6 more of them are against teams within 6 points of a playoff spot. So only 3 games against quote-unquote bottom feeder teams. One of those obviously is the game against Chicago. I think they still have a game against Buffalo, and I think they have a game against Nashville as well, but don't quote me on that. So every other game that they play for the rest of the season is either against a playoff team or a team that, like the Blue Jackets, is fighting to get into the playoffs. So it's not going to be easy. Again, a game against Chicago is a really good warm-up, but then they go right into a game against the Dallas Stars, which is the game that Fabro and Marchenko got injured in. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully tomorrow night's game is kind of low intensity, and hopefully things go well. We'll talk about the game in tomorrow's episode. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I want to talk about this surprising AHL call-up, because when I saw that they were calling someone up, it was not who I expected. I don't think it's who anyone expected. Let's talk about Joseph LaBate in just a second here at Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I want to tell you about FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your bets into a same-game parlay. I love using their live betting feature. It keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or if I'm picking a player to hit a clutch 3. I never feel like I've missed my chance. Plus, the app is so easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. You don't have to wait around for that deposit to hit. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, and also us, the Locked On Podcast Network. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk about Joseph LaBate, who is definitely a guy that exists. He is, first of all, every single person that has talked about him is basically, yeah, he's enormous. He is 31 years old. He's kind of I would consider him a journeyman, probably. He's been ostensibly in the league since 2016-17. That's when he made his NHL debut with the Vancouver Canucks. Played 13 games for them, and since then has bounced around. He played for Utica in the AHL, which was the Canucks affiliate at the time. Played for the Belleville Senators, played for the Milwaukee Admirals, the Chicago Wolves in 22-23. I believe that's when they won the Calder Cup, but I could be wrong about that. Last year, he was actually in the KHL. This year, with the Monsters, 13 points in 33 games, is not who I would immediately jump to as, hey, let's call this guy up. He's 6'5", he's 210 pounds, so like that explains a little bit of it. They can't resist. But I like Mikhail Pucha has not been as impactful as I think people wanted him to be this season, but he's still been an extremely promising player. Luca Del Babalus has been great, but I wonder if they want to play him top line minutes in Cleveland over third line minutes in Columbus, which I do get. I am still surprised to see him not get the call up. Like that to me felt, oh, he's done well enough to potentially stay for the rest of the season, right? Or at least until Monahan gets back from injury. Obviously, the Labanc injury as a winger means that maybe they wanted to call up a winger, which, in fairness, like, again, Mikhail Pucha was right there. But Joseph LaBate, according to head coach Steve Everson, earned his recall for his play with the Monsters. Cleveland head coach Trent Volgerhuber has praised his work rate, and he adds a big, strong wing who can skate into the lineup, according to Steve Everson. So I'm not expecting this guy to move the needle in any kind of real way. Like I said, he has 13 points in 33 games for the Monsters this season, 49 penalty minutes. His last NHL stint, like I said, was with the Canucks in the 2016-17 season. 13 games, 21 penalty minutes, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points. So again, I don't think they're expecting points from him. I think they're expecting a guy that can play 8 minutes a night, which again, potentially they want Pucher to play more minutes than that. Like, again, he really is, Pucher has been kind of a tweener this season. I think he's been good in the NHL, but I think probably they want him playing more minutes and of a more offensively minded role than the fourth line that he's been playing on, because he does have a top 6 skill set. Maybe not like an NHL top 6 skill set, but he's not a fourth line player like LaBate is. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be surprised. Like, again, this feels like the perfect the first NHL goal at the age of 31 story. But who can really say? Not me, that's for sure. I'm not super high on LaBate. He's fine. He certainly is an AHL player, right? Again, he might surprise me. I thought that about Alex Nylander, and then Alex Nylander came in and was like, well, I'm going to score 1 billion goals for you guys. I don't think it's going to be this, but like I said earlier, I've been wrong before and I will be wrong again, right? So having thought about it for a little while, like, yeah, it does make sense that they wanted to call up essentially a guy to plug into the lineup while they figure out, is Chinakhov going to be healthy enough to play again this season? Like, when is Monahan coming back? Are they adding a guy in? Are they going to add a guy in the trade deadline? Like, we just don't know. So it makes sense that they've just kind of called this guy up to not disrupt. Specifically, Del Bubbalus, I think, is what's happening here. Is they want him to play, and they want him to play a lot, and they don't want to call him up and send him down and call him up and send him down. Like, I don't know what the trade deadline is going to bring. I don't know, we don't know a lot of things, right? Or I don't know a lot of things, at least. But I still don't know that LaBate was the guy that I would pick for a call-up. But, hey, I'm not the head coach of the Cleveland Monsters. I trust Trent Vogelhuber with maybe not my life, but with a lot of things. Dean Everson has proved that he, walks the walk and talks the talk this season. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, I think. So I'll be interested to see how LaBate does in tomorrow's game against the Blackhawks. Like I said, am I expecting a lot? No, but sometimes that's when you get like the best results, right? If you're not expecting anything, then you can only be pleasantly surprised. So we'll see. Another quick break, and then I want to talk a little bit about Zach Werenski, who finished the Four Nations tournament. They did not win. Canada won, but Zach Werenski was his usual elite self. So I want to talk about that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I've got to tell you about SelectQuote. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they have helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage of up to $5 million. No medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL. That's SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL to get started. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's finish off by talking about Zach Werenski, who was excellent in the Four Nations. And I think people expected him to be good. All we heard for the first, the round robin stuff is every single time he was on the ice, the play-by-play guy would be like, man, what a story. What a great season he's having in Columbus. What a great player he is. And yes, you're correct. I'm glad that you're paying attention now. But there were a lot of people who were like, yeah, he's good on Columbus. He's not the best American defenseman. And like, probably that right. Quinn Hughes is the best American defenseman, but Quinn Hughes not healthy. So here we are. Zach Werenski, probably the best American defenseman. Arguably the best American player if you look at Dom from the Athletics models, which he was tracking. He was tracking all of the Four Nations players, and if you like, Zach Werenski consistently at the top in every game. In the Canada USA final, which he was arguably like, I think that was the lowest his performance was. But Zach Werenski played 23 minutes, had an assist, had an offensive rating of 0.46, a defensive rating of 0.10, which was good enough for fifth in the entire game. And I think honestly, it was his quietest game of the tournament. So, and he was still the fifth best skater on the ice. When you look at them as a whole, according to Dom, Zach Werenski was the best player at this tournament. He had an offensive rating of 1.58 and a defensive rating of 0.46, a net rating of 2.03, which was 0.75 ish above second place. And like, the margins in this are really tight. Brady Tkachuk was in second place with 1.26, and then it goes down in increments. The top 20, this is the top 25 players of the 60-ish that were there, 65, 70 players. Mikael Granlund in 25th with 0.19. So like, that's how tight the margins are. Between second place and 25th place is just over 1. Between first place and second place is just over 0.75. Like, an unreal performance from Zach Werenski. Didn't score a goal, but led the tournament in scoring, had 6 assists in 4 games, averaged, like I said, about 20 minutes, which was not as much as I thought he might. He only played about 14 minutes in the first game against Canada, but he played 23 minutes in the final, which I don't believe was the highest. No, Cale Makar played 28 minutes. But in terms of the Americans, I believe he was second in ice time. Jacob Slavin played 28.5 minutes. Zach Werenski played 23.1 minutes, which I believe, if I'm looking at this correctly, is second in American scorers. Kid's good. Like, again, I think we've seen a lot of national media take notice of Zach Werenski. I feel like they knew kind of, okay, he's like second in defensive scoring. He's leading the Blue Jackets in scoring, but is he really that good? He's playing on the Blue Jackets, and then you watch him play, at the Four Nations, which is ostensibly best on best, where we don't have to get into like the nuances of best on best when 2 of your top 3 goals scorers in the NHL aren't playing, but Werenski, ostensibly one of the 6 best American defensemen in the NHL, and one of the 24 best defensemen in the entire NHL, one of the best 70 players in the NHL, a league that has, I think, what is it, like 500 active players. I think they knew that he was good. I don't think that they knew that he was this good, and I do wonder if, and it shouldn't, because this is not an NHL thing. It is an NHL thing, but it's not NHL games, right? This tournament is basically meaningless. But I do wonder, does this influence the national media when it comes to Norris voting, when it comes to potentially Hart voting? I don't think he's going to win either of them, but he might get more votes than you think for the Hart, and he's probably going to finish top 3 in Norris. He should finish ahead of Cale Makar, but that's an argument for another day. Zach Werenski conducted himself extremely well as the only Blue Jacket there. He did good. Shame he didn't get the win. Connor McDavid is, as we all know, inevitable, but finishing in scoring, like scoring more than McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon. McKinnon got the tournament MVP, I believe. He led the tournament in goals, which I think is rude. He had 4 goals, 0 assists. Werenski 6 assists, 0 goals. But hey, I don't make the rules. But Zach Werenski did great for this team. And now he's going to come back and continue his elite season with the Blue Jackets. And here's the good thing, knock on wood again, is he did not get hurt. It sounds like both Tkachuks are going to miss NHL time because of this tournament. Obviously, Shea Theodore, injured in the first game, is out until the playoffs, probably because Vegas. Austin Matthews, banged up. I think we're gonna hear some significant injuries coming out of this tournament, and Werenski doesn't sound like it's one of them, which is great news, and honestly, maybe more important than anything else that he did in this tournament, because the Blue Jackets could not survive a Werenski injury, I don't think. Which, again, argument that he should be nominated for the Hart. If the team falls apart without him, then is that not the definition of MVP? Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about tomorrow night's game against the Chicago Blackhawks, who to watch out for on that team, who we're expecting big games from the Blue Jackets, etc., etc. That's coming up in probably in, like 12 hours, probably. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Thank you for listening, for making it your first listen of the day, every single day, despite the fact that it is almost 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't worry about it. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jacket on Twitter. Soon to be on Blue Sky, I believe. And if you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.